Hello, everybody. Spotlight. Wow. Whew, I didn't expect my face to be so big all of a sudden. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, my name is Reena, and I'm one of the pastors here at UCM. And yeah, if you're new here, I'm so excited to see you and meet you eventually. We have been going through this series called Unhurried Jesus Speed, where we are taking the summer to slow down to meet with Jesus. So last week, James talked all about Jesus' invitation to give us rest and Jesus' invitation to take up his easy yoke. James taught us that what makes Jesus' yoke easy is when we take on the lifestyle of Jesus. And this John Mark Comer quote that we have here, if we want to experience the life of Jesus, we have to adopt the lifestyle of Jesus. So that is what we're trying to get at with this series this month. And yeah, so when I was in Bible college, there was one year that I was taking 6 courses a term. I had a part-time job, a full-time internship, and somewhat of a social life. And I remember at this time in my life, my schedule was full every single day from 7 a.m. until 9 p.m. Like there wasn't any break. And that was just full of meetings, classes, ministries, and work that I actually had to be at. That didn't include homework or social life. The only time I had for any of those things was on Saturday from 2 p.m. until my bedtime. And I really didn't want to give anything up. And at this point in my life, I was really praised for how much I was doing. And people started commending me for my high capacity. But no one ever told me to slow down, to stop, or take rest, or even have fun. A mentor of mine once told me that Sabbath was not a practical habit for somebody in full-time school. And so I adopted that mindset. Burnout became my badge of honor. The bags under my eyes were on display to reveal the sleep I had lost doing God's work. And my anxiety was just a test from the enemy. I can do it. Keep going. One more day. Don't give up. If you do, you will just be proving to yourself and everyone around you that you, in fact, can't do this. I'm not good enough. I'm a failure. I guess I don't have a high enough capacity after all. I must keep going, keep striving, keep praying, keep leading, keep doing. Rest was only for those students who were lazy, I tell myself. Those who only took 5 courses, didn't have work to go to, or ministry, or anything extra. They just weren't doing enough. I would see people laughing and hanging out in the caf or going out after chapel to get milkshakes, but not me. There was no room in my schedule to be present. Wake, hustle, work harder, sleep, repeat. I'll rest when I'm dead, I would tell people who wanted to hang out with me. Little to know, I was slowly dying and my soul yearned for rest. Why do I tell you this story? As a student, I bought into the culture of hurry. Hurry is a sickness that is both addicting and deadly. The sermon tonight is not only for you, but really a letter to Reena in college. This message is what I wish I heard because second year Reena, burnout is not a badge of honor, sleep is important, and anxiety is not what Jesus wants for us. Jesus was unhurried, and I need to be too. Thankfully, though, one way that we can escape from this endless hustle and slow down is through the practice of Sabbath. Sabbath is a commandment, but it's also a gift that Jesus graciously invites us into, and is one of the ways that we can slow down and meet with him. Deuteronomy 5:12-15 says this about Sabbath, if you guys want to read along. Observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy, as the Lord your God has commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your ox, your donkey, or any of your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns, so that your male and female servants may rest as you do. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt, and that the Lord your God has brought you out of there with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. Therefore, the Lord your God has commanded you to observe the Sabbath day. We also see the scripture as well, almost very similar in Exodus 28-11. But near the end, it says something a bit different. So I'll just read the last verse here. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the seas, and all that is in them. But he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. So people often debate whether we still need to practice Sabbath because of the Old Testament laws. However, the more that I've been learning about Sabbathing over the last couple months and practicing it, I'm realizing that it's actually not much of a question about whether we should or shouldn't practice it anymore. It's no longer a rule or a law, but it's a gift that we've been given. James said last week that in order to be more like Jesus, we have to adopt his lifestyle. And one of the things that Jesus continuously did was get away and rest. And in these two passages of scripture, it gives reasons why we should practice Sabbath. So in the Deuteronomy 1, the reason was to allow their slaves to rest because they were also once slaves themselves. And they should also rest the way that they do. However, we see in the Exodus passage that I read at the end there, the reason given for Sabbath was that God himself rested. And so should we. In the beginning of the Bible, when we read the creation account, we see that God created the world, and on the seventh day, he rested. And in the Gospels, Jesus said that the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Jesus was arguing against legalism and guilt-heavy religion, and even God rested. So this is a practice that Jesus found so important. This is a practice that God found so important. And I think we should pay attention to that. And I want to talk about 4 aspects that make a biblical Sabbath. But before I get into that, I just want to preface that Sabbath should be in no way a legalistic practice. I'm approaching this topic with an open hand and the grace to not be good at it. There is no guilt or shame coming from this talk today. Our whole staff team has been working on how to Sabbath together, and each week we talk about what we did well and what we didn't do so well this week. And it should never be something we feel bad about it, but let us use it as a tool to commune and meet with Jesus. So with that out of the way, what makes a Sabbath? Well, there's 4 aspects to a biblical Sabbath that I'm going to talk about today. And those 4 things are stopping, rest, delight, and worship. So the first aspect of a biblical Sabbath is stopping. The Hebrew word literally means to stop or to resist doing something. On our Sabbath, we stop work, we stop all obligations, chores, anything we have to do. Most of us, especially as students, we feel that we can't stop. Because we just have so much that we think we need to do. And trust me, I know the feeling. If you heard my story earlier, I understand if you're like that. I remember as a student, you could maybe convince me to take a couple hours off, but a full day, that would take some serious convincing. But what I've learned is that we will always find an excuse not to stop. There will always be things that we have to do. But what I've learned through this practice is that the world does not fall apart when I stop. I have to remind myself constantly that tomorrow will worry for itself and God will take care of me if I stop to take a Sabbath. So if Sabbath is something that you guys want to try out, I would suggest that your first week that you try Sabbath, that you just start with stopping. It sounds funny, but just take a day where you simply just stop. No homework, no chores, no work. Just practice what it looks like to stop for a day. So maybe the first time you try this, you realize that it didn't go so well for you. You squeezed in some homework or you had to clean the bathroom, etc. Don't feel bad. Just take note how it went and reevaluate what the next week might look like for you. So the first aspect is stop. The second aspect to a Sabbath is rest. Genesis 2:2-3 says, by the seventh day, God had finished his work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from his work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all his work of creating he had done. Like I said before, God rested from a full work week. So Sabbath is a time to rest from work, to rest from school, to rest from responsibilities and obligations, rest from performance. Think of things that you might need to rest from. Maybe it's resting from worry or technology. That's what I know, that's what I do. Maybe it's resting from decision-making or errands. In order to have a fully restful day, it does take a bit of preparation. If you know there's like a list of chores that you need to get done or a bunch of homework you need to finish or obligations during the week, it takes a bit of being prepared. So if we want Sabbath to be restful, we need to prepare for all the things that we have to do on the other 6 days of the week in order to fully be rested on the seventh. And after we have prepared for rest, the next question that we have to ask ourselves is, what are we going to replace it with? Because I would encourage you guys to find a list of activities that really make you feel rested, because Sabbath isn't just about stopping the hustle for a day. We say no to things. Yes, we stop things, but what are we saying yes to? You can start to replace your work that you would normally be doing with what brings you joy and true rest. And maybe that could be going out for a walk with a friend, or maybe it's painting if you're into art. Maybe it's going for a long drive or hiking or getting into a really good novel. Maybe it's just taking a nap or sleeping 10 hours when you've been, maybe sleeping 3 all week. Like maybe it's time to catch up on sleep, and that would make you feel rested. Whatever you do for rest, it's not a to-do list. There are no to-dos on Sabbath, no have-tos or shoulds. These are just suggestions of what maybe would make you feel rested on your Sabbath. And for me, during Lent this year, I gave up social media. And for me, I found so much rest for my soul by doing this. And after that, I really felt God stir in my heart to make this a regular thing. So part of my restful Sabbath is to actually turn off notifications for a full day, delete all the social media apps, and have no unnecessary screen time for the day. And this for me is something I end up craving by the end of the week. Like I actually feel so rested, just taking a break and stepping back from my phone and obligations that come with that. So if you're going to practice Sabbath, I would encourage you, the second week you try it. First week, just try stopping. Second week, maybe you try to start adding some of these restful rhythms and start to prepare for what that might look like. But again, remember, just take it as it comes, evaluate afterwards how it went. We don't serve the Sabbath serves us. So just take it 1 week at a time. And the third aspect of Sabbath after we stop and rest is delight. In Genesis, after God finished his work of creating, he said that it was very good. After everything he made, he kept saying it was good. On our Sabbath, we're called to enjoy and delight in creation and the gifts that we've been given. We can delight in things like creation, the aha of things, the awe of life, food, mountains, the ocean, marveling at the beauty all around us. We can marvel at the wonder of the world and actually enjoy our food. And this aspect of Sabbath involves us slowing down enough to delight and appreciate people, creation, and all the things in our life. This is being present to those around us, slowing down, paying attention to the smells, the food, the people around us. Jesus was often present in the moment and allowed himself to be distracted by compassion. He was going slow enough that he was available in the moment. And we can also think of delight as enjoying creation and enjoying what God's given us. Getting outdoors, marveling at the hills here in Kelowna or the big lakes. Delighting is all about what is life-giving to the soul and what gives you joy, what gets you energized. What are things you actually enjoy doing that you wish you had more time to do? What activities or hobbies or people bring you joy? Who gets you energized? having delight on Sabbath is all about having fun and enjoying God's creation. And this could be anything from hiking to a paint night to playing cards with your family. And I would encourage you to write down a list of activities or people or things that bring you the most delight. What overwhelms you with joy? What would you love to spend a full day doing that would just fill you to the brim with just delight? And fill your Sabbath with those things. For me, I absolutely love the outdoors. What brings me the most delight and joy and rest is spending my time outside hiking or biking or rock climbing, car camping, exploring new trails. I come most alive when I'm outdoors, and I feel so connected with God through nature. So what is it for you that brings you that kind of joy? And so my suggestion is on your third week, maybe a practicing Sabbath, maybe you start to think about these things, about what things actually bring you delight and joy. So you could add delighting in with your stopping and resting and see how it goes. And last but not least, the final aspect of Sabbath is worship. I've been learning a lot about Sabbath in the last month, and I'm learning that it isn't just a day off. Now, all these things I just mentioned, great things, but it's also a time for attuning to the presence of Jesus. Just having a day off with no errands to do and just full of fun things and a big pizza meal doesn't make a Sabbath a Sabbath. Because an aspect of Sabbath that is so important is worship. And I know when I say the word worship, many of you might be thinking, I mean, like you have to sing all day long and pray all day long. That's wonderful if you do that. That's by all means, try that. But what I'm actually trying to get at here is that Sabbath is a day for worship in the holistic sense. I'm not talking about praying all day, but just seeing the invisible God all around us. Worship is an awareness of the presence of God throughout our day. And the way that John Mark Comer puts it in his book, The Ruthless Illumination of Hurry, is that worship on a Sabbath is anything to index your heart towards grateful recognition of God and the reality and goodness. So let's say that again. It's anything to index your heart towards grateful recognition of God's reality and goodness. In other words, Sabbath is a time to feast on God. How can you pay attention to God during your day? What activities or places draw you? This also might take a bit of preparation as well. What are things that you might need to do the night before to be able to receive from God the next day? When in your day do you think you'll have moments for prayer and silence? When in your day do you think you'll be able to commune with God? Maybe you could read through a psalm or indulge in a big Sabbath meal, go for a prayer walk, enjoy God's creation, attend church, whatever it is that will bring you into a place of worship. I find for me, when I've spent the day in all these aspects of stopping, resting, and delighting, by the end of the day, I actually find myself going to bed with a greater awareness of God's presence throughout my day. It's kind of crazy how it just does that. I feel so much more connected with God. And I hit the pillow in awe, refreshed, and just in gratitude for the day I spent. And so, again, my suggestion to you is just try it 1 week at a time. In your fourth week, maybe just start adding this aspect. Remember that there's no one way to do Sabbath. We practice and we just keep adjusting each time. And traditionally, Sabbath is observed from sundown Friday night to Saturday late afternoon, so like a 24-hour period. But you could really pick any day to do your Sabbath on. And it might be good to pick a consistent day. But again, no right way to practice your Sabbath. It is just a practice to help us slow down to be able to meet with Jesus. And if you're anything like me, this idea sounds great, but you might feel like it's going to be really hard to get into. And trust me, I did not love Sabbath when I started. I really wrestled with slowing down and not being productive. I struggled with turning my phone off, and it felt just uncomfortable at first. And I find that Sabbath actually gets way more sweet each week that I practice it. And an analogy that it reminds me of is like, if you guys ever get into running or stretching, At first, when you get into it, you feel like you're gonna die. Like, I don't know how long it's been since any of you guys have been on a jog, but like, if you haven't been on a jog in a year, go for a jog. You feel like you're gonna die. But after a while, when you start to run or start to stretch, your body adapts to the new movements and you actually start to enjoy the benefit from it. Ew, cardio. Yeah, but if you started doing cardio all the time, you always hate it when you don't do it. But then the more you do it, you start to crave it and love it, and your body enjoys it. And the same thing for Sabbath. I think at first we might feel like we're going to die if we stop and the world's going to crumble. But eventually it feels great. Yeah, you can take my word for it, Matt. Challenge you all to go for a run this week too. But yeah, I see Sabbath in the same way. When I started, it was really tough, and it still is at times. But the more I do it, the more I see benefits that the slowing down practice brings and helps me meet with Jesus. And yeah, so as a staff team, like I mentioned, we have all been learning how to do this together ourselves. And everyone has different flavors and elements to their Sabbath day and what gives them rest. So I wanted to invite into the spotlight our staff team really quick, and we're just going to do a really short interview with them. So welcome to the spotlight, Josh, Aiden, and James. Welcome, welcome. Josh, you're also welcome into the spotlight as well. There you are. Welcome. Cool. Well, I just thought this would be a good way for us to illustrate kind of what Sabbath looks like for different people, because it is all very different. I shared a little bit about what I kind of do throughout my message, but the first question I want to ask you guys, and maybe you guys can all answer it, and then I'll ask the next one, is what does your guys' Sabbath look like? How do you guys practice? So Aiden, if you want to go first, and then Josh, and then James.
Yeah. My Sabbath for me and my husband, usually, honestly, we kind of switch between Saturday or Sunday, depending on kind of what's happening in the week. We usually have to kind of decide earlier on. Usually it looks like sleeping in until our dog is whining in her crate to get her out of bed. And usually it means for me, like just sitting on the couch, looking outside, like drinking coffee, undisturbed. And then usually spending time with people, maybe going outdoors, drinking some more coffee. Yeah, very slow paced. And we usually honestly don't make plans. We just kind of go with whatever we're feeling in the moment.
Yeah, I've been attempting to practice Sabbath since fourth year of university. So for those of you who don't know, I'm just a year out of university at this point in my life. And I tend to practice it on Sundays is what I've been trying to do. Basically on those days, I take a day. I don't think about any work. I don't do any paid work. I don't do any household responsibilities. I intentionally spend time like in community for like church and things like that. And over the past few years as well, Sunday nights have been prayer nights for me and my roommates. And more recently, thanks to the warming weather, I've also taken Sundays to spend time outside, hang out in a COVID safe manner, hiking, walking with friends, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, when I was your guys' age, I first heard about Sabbath when I was like in university, and I think it was same as Josh, so near the end of my first of university, and I just dabbled in like, okay, I'll go. Sunday is the Lord's Day. We'll go to church. I'd hang out with friends, and I would always invite people out for lunch, and then we would, whatever would happen that afternoon, we would do it. We'd go have fun. We'd go, do some outdoor activity, etc. And then as long as I could resist not studying, that's how that day would go. And typically that would be, if I have lots of friends and activities to do, it could be the whole day and I wouldn't get any studying done, or maybe I would study a little bit Sunday night. And that was kind of how I started, was sort of like resisting studying for as long as I could, which might be, if I felt a lot of pressure, maybe I did study Sunday afternoon or something. And that's how it started for me. More recently, like I have a family, I have kids, And because of ministry, we try to practice Sabbath on Saturday, but we start Friday night, and we kind of do more of the traditional Jewish thingy where we go Friday night, 5 p.m. That's it. Work is closed. I try to like clear my inbox, and we start with takeout. Since COVID, it's been all about the takeout. Like the kids, that's when the pizza or the whatever is ordered. That's like the signal. Now I just started this past week. I was like, maybe we should light a candle or something as the beginning, rather than like shoving pizza in our face being the trigger. But we always have special beverages, and for the kids, that means like on Friday is the one day that they know that they can have pop, and like we make it really fun for our kids. We want our kids to grow up thinking Sabbath is like the most amazing, restful, delightful day of their life. And we hope that then they'll begin to get that sense that this is actually God's delight and God's rest. Saturday, we have our tradition is we do pancakes in the morning with the kids, and we make no plans. So Saturday is no plans, no commitments, no work, no chores, no laundry, no yard work, that kind of stuff. And we just go on adventures, hikes, whatever. And we resist as long as we can. Now I'm not a student, so now it's more like resist like chores, or resist, that kind of stuff. So
Totally. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, guys. I like that it's all a little bit different for everybody. What are some obstacles that you guys have experienced with stopping and resting? We'll just go in the same order that we did.
I think for myself, hopefully it doesn't glitch out. I just got notified that my internet's unstable. Because I'm married, it's not just me and my own life or planning. So I realized communication is huge in the day actually being restful. And so, really communicating with my husband, like expectations of the weekend. Maybe one of us made a commitment that the other is not aware of, or had just a desire of like, I really want to do this. And like, so I think communicating and actually like being okay to, as much as we like don't plan out the day, kind of planning out the day, because otherwise I think sometimes, one of us is like, well, I actually really was planning on like reading my book the whole day. And I was like, what? Like I had planned this whole walk for us and I was so excited about that. So communication is good. And I think even like with your roommates or your family or friends, communicating what your expectations are, earlier in the week is nicer. And then you can like look forward to it together.
I got a couple of challenges to come to Sabbath. One would be the challenge of not thinking about work. I'm sure all of you guys might be able to relate to that when you say you have like a midterm coming up really soon and you want to do a Sabbath, but it's just on your mind the whole time. And it can still be the same for us, like, I'm preaching this week. You don't want to think about it, but you will. And then other things just and then just things coming up, even if you like, I'm still learning how to plan a Sabbath, but sometimes things can come up. For example, like I can have like meetings with like supporters, for example, who live abroad and have to deal with time zones. And if what works for them is my Sabbath day here in Kelowna, I'm gonna have to compromise that. A couple of challenges there for me.
Yeah, for us, I would say like just the planning part. Like you fail to plan, so suddenly you're like, I think the other week we were out of milk, and you're like, okay, gotta go get milk for the kids or whatever. Like it seems always to be groceries or shopping or like a chore that you just feel like you need to get done. And then honestly, personally, like me, my brain is always going. I find that that's my hardest thing, is that like I'm sitting down and I'm enjoying resting, reading a book, and then my capacity to get stuff done, because I'm a get her done kind of person, I start making lists in my head. So even when I'm resting, even I'm reading a book, all of a sudden I'm grabbing my phone and like writing to-dos, or like, and so I just keep catching myself on these things. And but I'll say this to you guys, like, again, like Reena said, no guilt. Like, whatever you feel, like, I just tell this same thing with my wife. Like, when we talk about what we're going to do and what we're not going to do on Sabbath, at the end of the day, I always go, yeah, but guilt free. Like, if you really feel like you want to do that thing, if you really feel like you want to weed the garden because you want to, well, no guilt. Like, do that. Like, if that's what gives you freedom right now, do it. And or if you later regret that, like, you later regret it, like, then make note of that and don't do it next week. Like, learn from it. But again, guilt free. Like, this isn't about like the Pharisees popping out of the bushes going, "Ha ha, I cut you." It's not about that, right? So
Yeah, totally.
think about that image.
Yeah.
Like.
Yes, guilt free. I have not been always great at Sabbath, so guilt free is good. Okay, so last question for you guys, because this is our theme for this whole series. How has Sabbath helped you guys slow down and meet with Jesus?
I think for myself, it's really allowed me, I'm someone who can get overwhelmed, and like I really notice it when I don't take time to slow down, or even in the mornings, if I have a really busy morning versus like having quiet time, that really hits me. And so I think Sabbath has just really allowed me to have a greater capacity to care for other people, to be more present to other people, and to be just more present to God. Because I'm actually stopping and slowing and seeing him. And so I think I just notice in my week when I don't take a Sabbath, I'm way shorter with people, my patience is shorter, I'm getting overwhelmed easier, and versus when I have actually taken that time to slow down, like you just notice it, like you're in a very different space.
Basically, related to my answers to the earlier questions, practicing a Sabbath has allowed me to be in community, like not alone, be in community that all stops, rests, delights, and worships together. And I don't know. Also, it's encouraged, like, our household, for example, to be encouraging to each other in those prayer nights that I mentioned. And personally for me as well, like, not making plans on my Sabbath day, I'm able to just make time for things like prayer and musical worship, which allows me to be with God for a longer time than I am most days of the week.
For me, Sabbath is like productivity detox. So Reena talked about, like, for Lent she gave up social media, and that's sort of like going through a detox of social media. For me, it's productivity detox. It's like I'm training myself for a day not to be what I produce. And for someone like myself who's wired that way, that's what it takes. And then, so what I'm seeing the fruit of it is that it helps me get there quicker throughout the week. So when I take like a time of, a quiet time, I'm able to feel that more because I've done it in a larger chunk on once a week. Because I've done that as a larger chunk, it's easier to experience and taste it in the smaller chunks throughout the week.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for sharing. I hope some of this that we're sharing with you guys is helpful. Again, we're all learning. Every staff meeting we come and we're like, how's it going, guys? Like, this is how I messed up. So again, like, yeah, guilt-free. We just hope this helps you guys be able to attune to Jesus this summer. And so I'm going to pray really quick, and then Josh is going to stick us out into some breakout rooms, and we're just going to talk about Sabbath together. So if you pray with me. Jesus, thank you so much for the gift of Sabbath. Thank you so much that you call us into a place of rest, and that your yoke is easy. And I just pray as we just begin to discuss what this could look like in our lives, I just pray that you would just help us to slow down, and yeah, would you help our hearts crave this deeper soul rest? And I just pray that you would help us all to just be able to commune with you this summer as we practice Sabbath. So we love you, Jesus. Be with us. Bless our conversations tonight. In your name, amen.